approaching a group of girls, because this will stop a lot of guys up, and I've noticed that is a common theme that dudes will get stopped up on. So I'm going to tell you the one thing really that you need to do that's going to solve all your problems with approaching a group of hot girls instead of just waiting for one girl to be the person you approach and trying to isolate somebody. Because it often happens. You'll see a cute girl. You might even get some, indicators that she might be interested, and you want to approach, but she's sitting there with a group of friends, and you're just not sure how to go about that. And I'll give you more than this, of course, but the one thing that's going to sort of drive you through it is I want you to think about how you approach a group of people that you already know, and that like you're supposed, like a group where you're supposed to be there. Think about what that looks like. Like, let's say you go to a local bar, tavern, something like that. You see a group of friends, or maybe some old friends that you remember from high school, right? Or college or something, right? Or just a group of people you see all the time or whatever. And you're just going to go over and say hello, like to the group of people. What's your mental framework when you do that? You're not in a mental framework of, I'm really not supposed to interrupt them. I'm not supposed to be there. I'm not sure if they're going to really like, you're going to look at, they're going to reject me, or you have none of those thoughts because it's already a permissive thing. They might not notice you yet, right? They might be just talking amongst each other, but you don't feel uncomfortable just going up, having a seat right next to it. What's up? What's going on, guys? You have no like discomfort doing that, right? Because you know these people. Okay. Well, we behave like our social sensory system, okay, if you want to call it, lack of a better term. We're designed as social animals to sense things about each other, and people fall into a framework when you are sending those like signals. So when you send what I call friend signals, or not, because it's not what I call it. It's actually what body language people call it. So I don't want you to get confused with being like a friend to the chick and not getting the girl. But basically, I'm a good person. I'm a friend signal. I'm not versus a foe or an enemy. You're gonna send those signals to these people, and like in sending the signals that you're supposed to be there with your body language and with the way that you would approach. And so I know this is a bit broad, but let's get into some more specifics here. So it's in how you would train that. I just want you to, for a quick answer without having a chance to go through more things, because it's not going to be a long video. Just imagine what you would do, or think of the last time you approached a group and just said hello to people that you already knew, or that you're supposed to meet, and like you were supposed to be there. Think of your mental framework. Think of how you approached. Think of the body language you used when you did that. Okay. And now that's everything I want you to do there. I want you to repeat that with a group of strangers that are girls. Only difference is, of course, the what you say to open, it might be a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not, though, actually. All right. Just going, coming up to a group of girls and be like, hey, how you guys all doing? All right. It'd be really simple. Or how y'all doing tonight, right? It'd be really simple, right? You might do that to a group of people you already know. Or, oh, hey, what's up? Super simple. And then, of course, you have to have, some conversation you're going to go into or whatever. You know what I mean? But then that's a variety of topics. And like I've talked about, if you go into a playlist of pickup stuff, I talk about, the Ford gift acronym of things to talk about: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You literally just open and talk about any of those things like you would talk about it with a singular girl. The difference is you sort of more or less addressing the group, and you're thinking of a topic that you would address to a group versus, do you know what I mean? Just one person. Now there's there's nuances here. I'll give you some more help than that, but that's the biggest thing though, that is if you can put yourself in the mental framework, okay, of I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to talk to these girls. I'm permitted to talk to these girls. This is just fine. This is okay. Right. Like, as if you knew them. That's the mental framework you're in. Then they're going to react. Their social sensory system will react as if you're supposed to be there. Do you know what I mean? And so if you're like, oh, hey, what's going on? You just grab a seat right next to them, because let's say 2 or 3 girls sitting at a table, you just grab a seat and come over. hey, what's up? You don't mind if I sit down for a minute? I want to say hello. I want to say hello. They might be like, oh yeah, sure, or whatever. And that's, I mean, it depends. If I get a little resistance, I'll throw that in there. Sometimes I don't even throw in an ask. I might just grab a seat real quick and just like, and just start talking to them. It's all about, you have to be able to catch their vibe too, and be able to gauge their reactions. It's another thing that we'll teach more in a course environment, because that's a skill set. You know what I mean? If two girls are in a conversation that's really private and deep, and one of them is crying over something, and then you go, oh, hey ladies, what's going on? Probably not, going to be matching their vibe very well. And they're going to be like, hey, I'm sorry. We're having a private conversation. You'll get that. Right. And so you have to know how to match the vibe and be able to tell, where that group is at, whether, approaching is sort of going to be an appropriate thing. But most of the time, there's those few times like where they're in some sort of a deep social, a more of a less a deep, more private, situation, that approaching probably isn't going to be a good idea. You can sort of tell, right? But you can tell by their body language and how they're ignoring everybody else. But if that's not the case, you can pretty much match their vibe, sit down, act like you're supposed to be there. And so just acting as if, and like you're supposed to be there, and being not nervous, being confident, and just opening that conversation, whatever, is the thing that'll get you to you can approach anybody, you can approach any group, and it just doesn't matter. Okay. Now there's some differences and nuances. If you're approaching two girls, you're going to have to really address both girls, talk to both girls, and that's going to be a lot of the conversation, because you're not going to be able to isolate one and leave the other one just sitting there with nothing to do. All right. That's okay though. You can still do location changes, or, hey, y'all should come over here or whatever. This is better here, or come to my table, or let's leave, or whatever. You can deal with two girls. That's nothing wrong with that. All right. But you understand though, that's what you're going to be dealing with. And if they're not like both DTF threesome style, that's fine. You may end up just, interacting with both, and then kind of gauging which one's the better choice for maybe like a hookup later, number exchange, or any of that stuff. But if it's more than two girls, 3, 4 girls and guys, well, I'll get into girls and guys. If it's like 3 or 4 girls, you can isolate one of the girls after you address the group. You know what I mean? So then you come up, hey, what's going on, or whatever. And I just, you guys seem like you're having a good time. Is everything going good tonight, or whatever? Like, what are you guys up to? Where are you guys coming from? You guys dressed a little bit upscale for here. Where you all coming from? And just address the group at first. 1 or 2 of those girls will sort of take more of the lead in that conversation. And then that's who you deal with and talk to. And then you sort of end up dealing with that. And if she's the one that you're really interested in, then that's fine. You can continue that. And then the other ones will pick up conversation with each other. And now you sort of have this one thing going on here, right? And so from there, depending on the vibe and where you want to go, you can you can move her, isolate, and deal more just with her. Or perhaps you're breaking contact with no exchange of something, or you're breaking contact with no exchange, only to come back later, be like, hey, it's really cool talking to you earlier, and then handing her phone and doing that number close that way. So there's a bunch of different ways. But that when there's more than 2 girls, then you can address the group or whatever, or even, and it depends. If you got one that's sort of on the outskirts, you can sort of just have this conversation with the one, and then she gets more or less isolated from the group, and that's okay. But if they're all in like a sit or standing situation where all facing each other, you can address the group, but and they sort of interact, and it's sort of, have a fun vibe, like very chill, relaxed vibe. And then the person that picks that conversation up, that's sort of who you deal with. Now, if you're interested in one of the other girls, but you're dealing with this one, that's cool. Do you know what I mean? Just keep that going or whatever, because you're going to get the social proof and acceptance of that group, and you'll have a chance to maneuver on the person you're more interested in later. So it's fine. All right. So that's how you do it. But you basically insert yourself into a social group. Now, the other thing too is to recognize when you need to break contact too, because sometimes you'll insert yourself and people are like, oh, who is this guy? But they're talking to you to be polite and have reciprocity. When you notice that happening, that's when you you have your little interaction, be like, hey, it's really cool meeting you, and then you bounce and you go to another, go back to your group, or go back to where you're at, and or talk to somebody else, and that makes your perceived value high. Where if you just linger around and stuff and you're one of those people, then your value is going to be perceived as very low if they're not really wanting to engage and talk to you. So that's some stuff there too. You don't have to close right away if you're in a bar, tavern, whatever. Like, you can just come up, have a quick conversation. It breaks that ice or whatever, and then be like, yeah, cool. I'll catch you guys later. You guys have a good one or whatever, or enjoy the rest of your meal or whatever. Enjoy the rest of your drink, whatever the fuck you want to say, or just be like, whatever. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later. I got to get with my group. And then you break contact. That brings your value up. And then it's like, oh, he was cool. He wasn't doing, he wasn't trying to get something out of me. So that, my protective measure, right, starts to open up, and then boom. Last tip I'll give is, if there are dudes there, some dudes, it depends on what, again, notice the vibe, notice the type of dudes you're dealing with. But what I do is I address the guys, and sometimes I just talk to the dudes for a minute, and then I let it transition to the girls. But I'm always, of course, looking. You're not approaching two couples and hitting on their girlfriends. You know what I mean? But if it's clearly the girls and are not with those guys, and they're not looking like some criminal ass dickheads that you're gonna have a problem with, it's like giving those dudes a respect. Even if you're gonna talk to the chick, just give the guy a nod and be like, hey man, what's up? What's going on? I had a question. So an example, you could do an indirect, like give an example of an indirect, like let's say a chick has like a yoga shirt from a nearby yoga place. Be like, you come up, go grab your seat, like, hey, you don't mind if I grab a seat here real quick? Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Just address the dude and be like, I want to ask you about your shirt. And so I'll do that. And that's my indirect. And well, I just did the yoga thing, is that I just started getting into it. Are you an instructor, or do all of you guys do the yoga, or is it just you, or, and then now you're having this sort of thing. If it seemed like a relaxed vibe where, having just a random approach would be all right. And these are all things that have worked really well for me, and worked for people that, that I've taught and worked with. And so boom, you're now in a conversation with yoga instructor, and then the other girl is, talking with you a little bit. The dude's sort of chilling, but you gave that dude like his sort of respect of being there. You weren't just ignoring him like, fuck you guy. And then that gets perceived as, again, back to that friend signal. We're the same tribe. Think about our primal brains. It's a same tribe signal in that part of the brain. Do you know what I mean? And so, and that's what you want to, to give off is that I'm not from an opposing tribe that's a threat. You know what I mean? And that's the hindbrain instinct stuff. On your approach, depending on what you look like, if you're too stressed out, you're going to give, danger signals. All right. So when you guys are anxious, this is why you get rejected a lot, because you're giving off danger signals. So I'll give you 3 last tips before I go, is just soften your look. All right. So instead of, like a, like whatever, soften your look, cock your head a little bit, partial smile. Okay. And when you walk up, just give a little eyebrow like this. Hey, what's going on? Okay. That's how you do it. Instead of, I don't know. That's hard to do this on the fucking camera, but instead of being like, oh, hey, what's going on? Or whatever. Like, you're just like, then I'm like looking like, hey, what's up? Hey, motherfucker, that's not exactly a good friend signal, right? So if you go up and you're just sort of like, hey, and so see what my eyebrows did a little bit, went, whoop, hey, okay, just like that. All right. Slight head tilt. Boom. I have to do this because I can be I have an intimidating look sometimes, so I can have an intimidating look. So I have to make sure I do that. Hey, okay. And when you do that, that sends a signal of, hey, we're on the same team, versus, oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, hey, what's up, girl? And she's like, holy shit, this guy's gonna kill me in a parking lot, and so that's a bunch of tips there. But besides all the little tips and tricks and what to talk about really doesn't matter. It's the same as what you talk to singular girl about. You just address the entire group, you let the conversation unfold, and then you sort of end up isolating the girl you're interested in. And that's something we could do, more in the course, more in a longer video. But the main point, going back to the beginning of it, is just picture yourself approaching a group that you're supposed to talk to, right? Like people you might know or people you recognize. And then that's the vibe, body language, facial expressions that you give when you go up to that. Okay. Rehearse that on your own, even like in a mirror or something like that, if you have struggle with this, and then go try it out in the field.